Let's begin. What is your dating approach? And as we have been saying before, this webinar and others that are happening and still to come are part of the 50th anniversary of Peace Over Violence, building healthy relationships, families, and communities free from sexual, domestic, and interpersonal violence. We are an organization committed to social service, social change, and social justice. And we are a trauma recovery center. As we said before, we have divided our services into 5 areas: emergency intervention, prevention, education, and advocacy. And today we're going to be introducing to you the services that we offer in our education department.
Good morning, everyone. Education at Peace Over Violence is very important, and so we do so in a variety of different ways. As you see on the slide, we provide violence prevention curricula, multi-language publications. We also provide parenting for healthy relationships and education around violence prevention, specialists, training for volunteers. We also do voices over violence survivor speakers. We do volunteer counselor and advocate training, and we also run legal clinics. Additionally, we have a social work internship training program for MSWs, LCSWs, MFTs, and BSWs. Community forums. So we also do community education and organizing for violence prevention. We are able to help with media literacy. And we also run training for professionals and other community organizations. We also do the Collective Wisdom Initiative. And lastly, we do a Denim Day campaign every year in April. And these are only a few, so please feel free to log into our website to get more information about all our services.
Hey, we are so grateful that many of you have shared about our webinar in your networks, and we have over 400 people registered for this webinar and receiving our updates, handouts, private links for the recorded sessions. So thank you very much for doing that. And you are serving not only yourself, but you are serving others as well, because what we are providing here is information that is evidence-based, meaning that that is science-backed information that we are providing you with. Although we cannot see a sense of mystery today as well, right? Because science and mystery, we're talking about love after all, right? And so thank you. And I would like to encourage you to keep sharing what we are doing here. So we are close to the number that was our goal, is 500 people register and attending our webinar, okay? And let's start again with emotional intelligence. Last week, we talked about emotional intelligence and we explained why emotional intelligence is important. And we talked about love at first sight, right? Let's talk about, again, emotional intelligence. And this is what we should be pursuing. This is our life pursuit, to be emotionally intelligent. Why? Because there are 4 factors that, make up what is emotional intelligence. A well-being, a sense of well-being, self-control, emotionality, and sociability. And we say that the sense of well-being encompasses one's positive self-evaluations, as well as feelings of happiness and optimism. The factor of self-control includes the ability to regulate one's feelings, including emotions, stress, and impulses. So that means that when we feel overwhelmed, for example, we know how to manage. We know what to do, how to take care of ourselves. So we will go back to levels that we feel calm in our emotional self. Emotionality involves relationship skills and the ability to perceive one's own as well others' feelings on emotions, that what is known as empathy, the ability to empathize with someone, not only sympathize, but empathize. Empathize meaning connecting with that person at that emotional level where you feel what that person is feeling. So there is that connection of right hemisphere with the other person right hemisphere. The factor of sociability that includes the ability to communicate effectively and the ability to make friendships and maintain those friendships. All right. So why again emotional intelligence is important? Because we need to discern. We need to be, centered enough in ourselves, be emotionally intelligent enough to discern well. And discern well what? Last week we talked about love at first sight, remember? Now let's talk about soulmates and twin flames. And this, both of these can be hard to distinguish because the first encounter is always a sense of, it gives a sense of familiarity and deep connection. Both of them produce the same in the first encounter. We feel that we are deeply connected with that person. And we feel touched at a deeper level. It feels like this is the person that we are destined to be with, right? So that kind. So it's if we're gonna add the sense of mystery here to what we are presenting, as I said, that is evidence-based, science-backed information, let's acknowledge that there is a sense also of mystery. How is that we feel that way? If we don't believe that in love at first sight, okay, because love is built one brick at a time. Remember the analogy of, or the metaphor of building a house, right? Building something in the plot of land, that is the relationship. And we do it by building up brick by brick, right? So how is that this happens? How is that we can feel this attraction, this sense of, I know this person, like forever kind of feeling? Because sometimes it's just like that. This is something like, is there, although not yet. A sense of it's happening, but not yet, right? A mystery. And that's a key ingredient as well, in part of falling in love with someone or being in love with someone, right? This is a key ingredient, that the sense of mystery, that it always has to be there as well, right?
Yes, and so looking at those two, the soulmate and twin flame, as Federico mentioned, and when you first see that person, it could feel very similar. However, there are some differences. And so soulmates can come in the form of both friendships and also romantic partners. And there is a deeply understand us to the point where it feels like we may have known each other before, or as if we shared experiences even though we just met, right? So it's that strong connection that you feel with folks, that you have a lot of commonalities and a lot of chemistry between each other. It's that deep emotional connection. And twin flames, they're also known as mirror of soul, is a person that's deeply emotionally connected as well, right? And this feeling is instant. It's also an instant feeling upon when you meet a person. but often form into unhealthy relationships, right? So for the soulmate, you're able to build a healthier relationship and you're more compatible with each other. Versus for the twin flame, not so much. And it could be because they mirror each other's personalities or insecurities, and also weaknesses rather than balancing them out. So that's a big difference, right? With the soulmate, you're able to be more compatible. And so your personality, their personality really balances each other versus with twin flames, it doesn't as much. And so it's more of a mirror of what your insecurities are, what your weaknesses are with that person, but both of them have that deep connection with one another.
Yes. And what makes them different? Although already Francis explained what the difference is between the two of them. The connection between soulmates is powerful and often comes easily. You know, it's a very smooth connection, kind of as we said before, that, you know, it feels like I know this person. You know, and it's a natural connection, and a connection that happens natural. It's a deep understanding of each other. And as Francis also said, it's a balance relationship. It's a balance that it's a relationship that provides balance to each other, you know, not that complete each other. Because remember, if you are emotionally intelligent, that means that you have a sense of happiness. So you are content with yourself. You are happy with yourself as an individual. So you don't need anyone else to make you happy. You will be happy to be in a relationship, but you are a happy person, right? So when you are like that, you can make a soul connection. You can find a soulmate that is in the journey, in a similar journey with you. Okay. For twin flames, it's the concept that there is just one. It feels when you encounter a twin flame, is the connection is not only the physical attractiveness and physical, if we talk about, if we go into the sexual part, but also it touches deeply in our emotional self and even in our soul. So it's very deep connection, very, you know, this is a lot of fire, very intense. And of course, the idea comes of, oh, gee, this is the one. This is the one, because this is the way that I feel. I never felt this before, and this is the one. But the problem is that our insecurities, our own insecurities, if we are not in that state of emotional intelligence in our journey, at least of some degree of emotional intelligence that can help us discern, what we're going to realize is that our insecurities are amplified in that relationship instead of balanced out, as in the soulmates, in the twin flame, is amplified. Why? Because we are with someone that has the same insecurities that we have, that reflect the same problems that we have in our emotional self. Unresolved traumas, still work to do, basic work to do, because we said the idea of becoming the right person is a life journey, right? But we have to be in the journey in order to find someone that is similar to us, and similar in the journey, similar to us. Okay. So, but at the same time, we said that the mirroring effect of twin flame relationships can inspire emotional growth. Why? Because when someone that has experienced a traumatic event that has become trauma in their lives and do the work of healing, then that person comes out of that experience of healing a much, much better version of self, with a much better version of self, an improved version of self, wiser and discerning well, and with a toolkit of strategies and coping skills for to face life circumstances much better prepared than they were before. Okay, so that's why we say this. And how do we know which is which? As I said, if we feel an automatic and deep connection with another person upon meeting them, then it's likely that we have met our soulmate or twin flame. If they are our soulmate, we are extremely compatible and in tune with one another. Compatible, not equal. Compatible and in tune with one another. There is no forceful actions. There is no need for that to happen. Okay, it happens in a natural way. Twin flame connections, as I said, they are very intense, but they are not exactly compatible, and they are too similar to each other. So that's why they are very tumultuous. The relationships are a roller coaster of emotions, up and down emotions, because, as I said, the insecurities of each other are amplified in the relationship. Okay. And why this is happening? Because there is something that we call attachment that is developed in the first 4 years of life of each person. And early relationships, the relationship with our caregivers, parents, or one of them, are the prototype for future relationships. So we learn how relationships work and what we can expect. For example, should I trust this person? Is this person dependable? So early attachments aid in the development of emotional regulation, social skills, empathy. Empathy is not something that you are born with. It's something that we develop, and we develop in our environments. Okay. So when we're talking about attachment styles, there is a secure attachment style. And this secure attachment style is when there is a consistency in caregiving, in the care given to the child or to the baby. Okay. And that results in that person growing up trusting others, having a healthy view of self, speaking and speaks wants and needs easily. So they don't have any problem speaking out. What is that they want? What is that they need? There is no problem. They can attune to other people's emotions. They have a good sense of self-esteem. They are not easily triggered, and they have a high degree of resilience. So something happened to them, of course they're gonna feel insecure. Of course they're gonna feel like everybody else, the drama or whatever is that is happening to them. But the degree of resilience will make them, bounce back in very, very quick. Okay. Then is the anxious preoccupied, when parents are not, or the caregivers are not consistent in the care that they provide to the child. A child can develop as an anxious preoccupied. There is an insecurity, high anxiety, fear of abandonment, trigger responses that the freeze or fawn, fear of being alone, chronic survival mode, preoccupied with relationships, and some traits of codependency as well. Then we have the dismissing avoidant. Is the same thing when that there is no consistency in the giving or the care given to the child can develop as a dismissive avoidant, meaning, well, nobody comes to help me, so okay, so that means I'm alone. I can trust my parents, so I have to take care of myself, right? And so they become avoidant, dismissive. They are self-sufficient, self-reliant. Insecurity and high anxiety wants intimacy, but they are afraid at the same time of intimacy, of emotions. Trigger responses, freeze, flight. They are in chronic survival mode, like the anxious preoccupied as well, doesn't trust easily, build up walls. They are especially good at putting the stone, using a stone walling. Ultra independent can be dismissive, which is painful to the other partner, right? And the avoidant can be divided as well in fearful avoidant. And that is also has insecurity, high anxiety, wants intimacy, but they are afraid at the same time of that intimacy. They are in chronic survival mode. They are pushy and pull dynamic, because they don't know what they want or how they feel. So they push, they pull, they push, they pull in the relationship. They are confused about love and they have trouble feeling emotions. Now that we are talking about attachment, how attachment works in relationships, and that's what probably you are more interested on this, right? So the secure attachment, as we said, has a positive view of self, positive view of others. And because of that, they are interdependent. They are very good and in that dynamics, social dynamics with others. They are comfortable with emotional intimacy, comfortable with closeness, and they are secure and trusting. They may have insecurities. We're not talking about perfection here. They may have insecurities, but the attitude is, no, but I'm gonna be okay. So that's the certainty that they have. I may fear this. I may be afraid of this, or I may be anxious about this, but I'm gonna be okay. That's the sense that they have. The anxious attachment has a negative view of self and a negative view of others. So as such, is dependent on other people's approval, dependent on feeling that want other people to welcome them in, so they will feel that they belong, that they are welcome. And so they are fear of losing their relationship, and they will cling to the relationship, even though the relationship is not good sometimes. Emotional highs and lows because they don't know how to express what they are feeling, so they are acting out what they are feeling. So they can be aggressive sometimes, right, in trying to express what they are feeling. The avoidant attachment has a positive view of self, but it's a kind of fake positive view of self. Why? Because they are insecure. They are in an insecure attachment. So that they say that I'm self-sufficient, I'm self-reliant, that they show like that. But the problem is that if you don't have a positive view of others, it's because you don't have a positive view of your own self. Okay, because we tend to project what we have inside. So and they are independent, self-reliant, no interdependent, independent, self-reliant. Okay, but they still have anxiety. They still have high insecurities. And because of that, they have difficulties having and maintaining friendships, okay? Close relationships, friendships that, well, shallow friendships, acquaintances, things like that you can have by hundreds. But those who are allowed into their inner circle, close to their heart, there are not that many. Okay. So they normally put up walls. Okay. And the other one is the fearful, that is the avoidant, the other avoidant. And is a negative view of self, negative view of others, like the anxious style, and seek closeness in a relationship, but avoids the closeness at the same time. You know, is disorganized, fearful of making connections, could be self-harming or abusive, especially they have obsessive, they become obsessive, they can be very, very jealous, for example, you know. So those are the different attachment styles, okay? And you're gonna see, or you're gonna have these graphics in the handout that we're gonna provide for you after this session. And this little table here shows what the estimates tell us are the population in the United States. How do we know this? Because of the different studies conducted in a number of universities and other institutions that provide us with those studies. So as I said, this is an estimate. This is an estimate. We have to make a disclosure here that those studies normally are based upon the population that are close by the universities that conduct these studies, and what are the population that in nearby those centers of research? College students, of course. Okay, so it's difficult to deconstruct this by demographics, for example. Okay, so this is an estimate. Secure adults in this country, it is believed that is around 50% of the population that have the secure attachment style. So the anxious preoccupied, or the anxious attachment style, it is believed that is 20% of the population. And avoidant, which is these two, are 25% of the population. 5% of the population is believed to be in the disorganized. Disorganized is that children that have experienced strong neglect and abuse in childhood and has continued for a long time, and they have become disorganized in their way of relating to others. And the result of that is people that have chronic depression, chronic anxiety, and self-medicate in order to stop the emotional pain that they feel constantly because of this way, inconsistent and disorganized way of connecting with other people and with their own selves. Okay. So what to do, Francis? How we can move from one insecure attachment style, whatever it is, insecure, anxious, or avoidant, whatever the two subdivisions of avoidant, to a more secure attachment style. What we need to do?
First and all is to be able to learn to love yourself. So as we say, the relationship that you have to yourself is the most important and will affect all the other relationships that you have. So one of them is to build or rebuild your self-esteem, right? Continue or learn to protect yourself. And that would mean setting healthy boundaries for yourself. Remember, those are boundaries that you could control, right? It's how you set those boundaries, how you respond to those boundaries that matter. Learn to take care of yourself, self-care, and positive friendships. Self-care is important, and that varies from person to person. Positive friendships are also very important because they also set examples of what those relationships could look like. And learn to contain yourself. Self-regulation, balance of the self. This could look like meditating. This could look like exercise, grounding, finding different ways for you to be able to self-regulate. And also learn to be accountable, right? Letting go of old defenses, attachment patterns. Sometimes this could be very challenging because that means you're relearning. You're relearning different things that you probably picked up as a child or in past relationships. And so being able to let go of those and choose the ways that you want to continue to build your attachment and your relationships.
And attachments are not personality disorders. Let's just start with that. They are formed, our main attachment style, or the most dominant attachment style, is formed in childhood, of course, in the first 4 years of age, as I said. But the beautiful thing about attachments is that they can be modified. And how is that they can modify? By doing this, what just Francis presented to us, okay? And environment. You have, if you want to move from an insecure attachment style to a more secure attachment style, you have to reevaluate your environment, your friendships. Why? Because the environment and friendships are the ones that help us. It's like the structure that will give us, you know, a horizon to go to, you know, is the guidance. It's something that moves us, inspires us, polishes us in a way that little by little we are moving towards that direction. Okay. And Greg Anderson says, focus on the journey, not the destination. Okay. Focus on the journey. That's what I said before. Yes, you need to become the right person that you want to meet, right? And to be in love with. You need to become that right person. But all that you need to do is to be in the journey to become that right person. All right? So focus on the journey, not the destination. Joy is found in finishing an activity, not in finishing an activity, but in doing it. So while you are in the journey, you're going to be enjoying what you are rediscovering about yourself as you build or rebuild your self-esteem, as you are protecting yourself like trees. Remember the lesson from trees about healing, you know, how they protect themselves by stopping the bleeding. How you set boundaries to protect yourself, okay? And that helps your self-esteem. You build yourself again. You rebuild from something that happened to you. All right. So, and becoming regulated, practicing self-care, looking more into yourself rather than outside of yourself. Okay. And being accountable with supportive and positive friendships. That's the way of becoming more secure in our attachment style. So that's the beauty of attachment. It can be modified. It doesn't matter what experience we have had in the past. We can change our attachment style, but that's a journey. So enjoy the journey, okay? And next week, we're gonna be talking about what is that we are looking for, a friend, a companion, or a lover. And Helen, is there anything before we close our session today? And
Yeah, actually, we had very few questions today, and I answered one of the questions. For those of you wondering how to join our small discussion groups, please take down this email address, info-webinar@peaceoverviolence.org. And I think everybody is just thinking about everything they've learned today. So those of you who are with me in the English discussion group, I look forward to opening some conversations. Thank you, Federico.
And Francis is leading the Spanish-speaking group that discusses the topic in turn. Okay, so well, glad that you were here, and I hope we see you all next Saturday. Okay, well, take care. Enjoy the long weekend. Bye-bye.